Hey YouTube, we are at part 2 of the Book of Shadows section, I guess, about constructing your Book of Shadows. Alright. To put it in a nutshell, the way that I believe is that we were given 3 amazing tools. Logic, intuition, and the bridge of common sense to close the gap. And your Book of Shadows qualifies as a magical tool, which means that you're going to have to try and use that common sense to bridge logic and intuition on this. You see, magic is something that's very intuitive, so you're going to get the best. You're going to get the best results when you use your intuition to find what feels right, because that's what's going to lead you in the right direction for what is best for you. However, you cannot ignore the logic. You have to balance your intuition with common sense to meet your logical needs. That may not make sense, but let me give you a good example. My handwriting is bad. I mean, like, if you're not trying to read it, it looks very pretty. I write in cursive, and I work really well in cursive. However, it makes it very hard to read, especially if I get impassioned while I'm writing, and so the logical approach would be to just type up my stuff on the computer and print out and put it in that way. However, there is no way that I can connect with those words. When I write down on paper, I connect to what I wrote, what I printed out. Like when I'm typing it up, I don't get that same kind of connection. And since this is a magical sort of tool, I need that connection. So, common sense, we're going to bridge those two together. Rather than printing everything up or writing everything out, I'm going to combine the two. My journal, which is a very emotional, connective sort of process, will have to remain in print, on paper. Over anything that is static, like I use runes, the elder runes, and their meaning is not really going to change. So I have a printout of the runes and their meanings, and I can put that separately from my journal. Also, what do you want to put your Book of Shadows in? There's a lot of choices. I mean, everything from typing it out on computer paper, 3-ring binders. There's beautiful pagan journals that you can buy online that are just, the workmanship is amazing on them. And I was sorely tempted. Like I saw them, I was like, wow, I want the one with the tree all over it. However, if I'm thinking logically, my Book of Shadows is something that I'm going to be using a lot, and a lot of things change. I need to move stuff around, add stuff, remove stuff. It's not static, and getting a bound book would be static, and I would have a lot of pages where I'd have to just cross stuff out, and that looks horrible. So for now, the compromise is a 3-ring binder. I picked green because for green, for me, green is a very spiritual color. I'll probably get into that some other time. And inside I've got loose leaf, wide ruled paper. Wide ruled because I'm trying to minimize my handwriting being horrid, and college ruled seems to encourage it. But in this way, I can add paper whenever I need to. I can take it out, I can cross stuff out, I can tear out a page and crumple it up if I need to, you know. There's a lot of ways to organize it. In my case, I'm probably going to have a couple of different books. this time around, I will probably have my journal in this. That way, like, when I have the desire to write, the first thing I always grab is a spiral notebook. So when I'm done writing, I can tear out the pages and put them in here. Assuming that this isn't handy in the first place. I will probably keep a section for the journal at the back, a section for official things, the static documents like the rune definitions and anything that's not going to change, like correspondences or recipes. I'll probably keep those in the front. My grimoire, the grimoire is the term used for a separate book of spells. I will probably keep a separate book of spells in my case because spells are very static and very personal things. I work with kind of a minimalist thing, so whatever I have at the time is what I will use for a spell. And then once you're done with the spell, you write it down and make a note of when you did it. So I can have a section for spells that I've done, spells that I'm going to do, spells that I'm planning, things like that. And the divination journal. Okay, I don't have a divination journal. The only part of divination that I do, is tarot. I will probably explain more why in the next section because then we'll be covering what these sections are. So, but I don't have a dream journal. So that's not a problem. If you have a dream journal, it would probably be much more convenient to just have a spiral notebook by your bed. Because when you wake up, that's the first thing you're supposed to do anyway. Just leave it by your bed, and that way you can find it and refer to it when you need it. I wouldn't suggest putting it in the same place as the rest of your Book of Shadows because you need your Book of Shadows, you pick it up, you walk off with it, you go to your altar with it, and then it never gets back to the bed. I would strongly suggest having a separate journal for divination. And that can be either a spiral or another 3-ring binder. Beyond that, construction is really up to you and some of the decisions in your life. If you are out of the broom closet, you don't care who knows, who sees, and think about this one, seriously, because I've seen a lot of people who are like, yeah, screw it, I don't care who knows, I'm pagan and I'm proud. And then, like, they get the call that their grandmother is coming over to visit, and they're like, oh God, hide the altar. So, keep that in mind. If you are mostly out of the broom closet, then you need to prepare for when the people that you're not out to shows up. In my case, I've got family that would probably be highly offended, and I love them dearly. I love them very much, but they would be highly offended. And I feel that it behoves me to not push my religious choices in their face because they don't push theirs in mine. So this will probably stay blank on the outside. My grimoire, probably the same. It will probably just be in a different color. And that way I can just set them up on a shelf and nothing need be said. My altar is similarly very, I guess it's unobtrusive. It's something that I can easily take apart and camouflage. I don't know, we'll get more on to altars later, I guess. Alright, hopefully this was able to help you think a little more about how you want to put this together. I mean, first you have to decide how many parts you're going to have, like if your journal is going to be separate, or your dream journal is going to be separate, or your spell book, or and how best to use those individual parts. I mean, you can do it any way that you like, any way that feels right. It's just that over the years I've discovered that no matter what felt right, ultimately you have to temper that with common sense. Thank you very much. There will be one more section that I'll probably film like right now about the contents of your Book of Shadows, so stay tuned.